These slides, you have the most recent IACS guidelines of treatment for HIV patients, and these are the recommended, preferred choice of antiretroviral regimen. So you can choose one of the following. These treatments are the association of two NRTIs plus an integrase inhibitor or an NNRTI or a boosted PI. Among the integrase inhibitors, it could be dolutegravir or bictegravir or raltegravir. And among the NNRTIs, now there is only rilpivirine that is as a preferred choice among the NNRTIs. For boosted PIs, it's boosted darunavir, and as you can see, dolutegravir plus UTC, before to be recommended as a preferred choice, needs a longer follow-up up to week 48. So this is what we have now in Europe, but why resistance is still important? Because resistance is limiting antiretroviral efficacy. Resistance is also associated with virological failure in patients, and cross-resistance is limiting the use of other antiretrovirals in the same class. And finally, resistance can be transmitted. So the main risk of resistance is the reduction of further antiretroviral options. And this is particularly important for patients treated for the first time. So Jonathan made a very good talk on antiretroviral genetic barrier to resistance, so that I will not detail this this concept. However, this genetic barrier to resistance is defined by the number of HIV-1 mutations required for resistance to an antiretroviral or an antiretroviral treatment regimen, and the frequency at which the resistance mutation can develop. So these mutants can continue to replicate under the selective pressure of the drugs, and this allows the development of additional secondary or compensatory mutations, and these mutations can further increase the level of resistance and increase the viral fitness. So we can separate drugs with a genetic barrier to resistance. On this slide, you have here the potency of the drugs. This is the estimated log change in viral load, and here the genetic barrier to resistance. This is approximately the number of mutations needed to fail to the drug, and we can schematically separate drugs with low genetic barriers and drugs with high genetic barriers. So there is a more common general concept that is therapeutic barrier that include, of course, the genetic barriers, but this takes into account also the pharmacological characteristics of the combination and the overall potency of the combination. And this, I think, should be considered when choosing an initial treatment regimen. So now if we look at the resistance analysis in the different clinical trials, in the ECHO study that compared rilpivirine versus efavirenz in association with tenofovir plus FTC in naive patients, we have also another study. This is the STRIVE study that compared also rilpivirine versus efavirenz in association with two NRTIs, and I will not show you all the results of potency because now, of course, all the treatment first line are very potent with very high level of viral load response. But I would like to show you the results of the virologic resistance data here at week 96 in the ECHO and STRIVE study, the pool study. And among the virological failures, you see here the patients, and you can see that there are some emergent mutations as well for the NNRTIs and as well for the NRTIs. So these are in the rilpivirine group and these in the efavirenz group. So the majority of virological failures occurred in the first 40 weeks, and the virological failure and treatment-emergent mutations were similar at low baseline viral load, but more frequent at high baseline viral load in the rilpivirine treated than in the efavirenz treated patients, and that's why one of the reasons why you cannot use rilpivirine for patients with viral load above 100,000 copies per ml. Now, if we look at this ICTG study comparing boosted atazanavir versus boosted darunavir versus raltegravir plus TDF and FTC, here you have the resistance analysis, and as you know very well, there was no selection of resistance mutations to PIs in case of virological failure, and very few mutations to the associated NRTIs. However, with raltegravir, it was different, with the selection of one integrase inhibitor as own mutations here, and some mutations associated NRTI and integrase inhibitor here in these patients. So I would like to show very rapidly this Flamingo study, the Flamingo study, who evaluated dolutegravir in association with 2 NRTI versus boosted darunavir plus 2 NRTIs. And what the resistance analysis shown that there was very few failures, and among the failures on the dolutegravir, there was 2 failures on the dolutegravir arm and 2 failures on the darunavir boosted arm, and in these four cases there was no resistance emergence at all. And to finish, the results from the Gilead studies with bictegravir plus FTC plus staph versus dolutegravir plus FTC plus staph, and as in the Flamingo study, there was absolutely no resistance emergent mutations in case of virological failure, and also very few failure in both arms. So. Now, if we speak a little bit about transmitted drug resistance mutations, we have seen yesterday the results of in Europe, showing that the level of transmitted resistance in Europe is around 10% overall, and the less mutations found are those for PIs, and around 2%. And yesterday we have seen more recent data that have been presented, and the numbers are very similar in the more recent studies overall in Europe. And in France, we have also this very similar data showing that the transmitted drug resistance is lower for PIs than for NNRTIs, and we have also data on transmitted drug resistance for the integrase inhibitors, showing that it's very low, and it depends if we take into account some polymorphic mutations or not, but it's still very, very low. And this last slide to show you that this is a very nice study from the Swiss court, showing that integrase inhibitors slow resistance development and transmission in resource-rich settings. Indeed, you have here the viral load after virological failure after the introduction of integrase inhibitors, and the level of viral load is much lower lower than for the other classes of antiretrovirals, such as NNRTI, unboosted PI, or PIs. And what was very interesting in this study is that 7 years after the introduction of integrase inhibitors in Switzerland, there was no transmission of major integrase resistance mutation. So in conclusion, now we have very high efficacy in this modern first-line ART. However, the selection of resistance in case of failure is very rare, but I think it's still an important factor that we have to take into account. We have to keep in mind also that the importance of viral load monitoring and to switch early the patients who are failing to their treatment to avoid resistance, accumulation, and transmission of resistance. So in conclusion, if we look at the currently recommended 3-drug regimen, rilpivirine and raltegravir have a low genetic barrier to resistance, and there is a high risk of cross-resistance within these classes for rilpivirine and the NNRTIs and raltegravir and the integrase inhibitors. The resistance data showed that in case of virological failure with these drugs, there is no protection of the NRTI backbone within some cases resistance selection to the NRTI. With dolutegravir and bictegravir, they have a high genetic barrier. They protect also the NRTI backbone in case of virological failure. There is also an advantage is that also the low rates of transmitted integrase inhibitor resistance, and this is the same for darunavir that has a high genetic barrier. It protects the NRTI backbone in case of virological failure. There is also very low rates of transmitted PI resistance, and we have very long-term data resistance for boosted PIs. There are still some gaps for first line. You know that doravirine is a new second generation NNRTI that could be that is approved in first line therapy, and this new NNRTI could be preferable to the existing NNRTIs. But we have to find the right place for this new drug. We need also long-term and data in clinical settings on dolutegravir and bictegravir, especially with the 2-drug regimen, and we have to be we have to continue to study the impact of the transition of tenofovir plus lamivudine and dolutegravir in resources-limited countries on the epidemiology of resistance to integrase inhibitors. Thank you.